Chapter 3. Okie awoke the next morning to the cheerful sound of a bird singing in her father's garden. Cheep, 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 chia, chia. She covered her ears. I do not want to hear a happy bird this morning. Doesn't that silly bird know I will never be happy again? All morning, Mother and Okie talked to each other and cried together. They gathered Okie's small belongings and placed them on a furoshiki, a large square cloth. She would take a light quilt grandmother had made, a warm padded jacket, 2 yukata, cotton kimono-like dresses, tabi, socks, underclothes, a comb, and a few personal items. Mother added the red silk kimono, Japanese silk dress, that had been her mother's and her mother's before that, and even farther back than that. Okie looked at Mother's hands holding the kimono, and she did not see trembling. She saw only gentleness and love, and she was not able to reach forward to take anything from her mother's hands. She could only watch, her face wet with tears, as Mother finished putting everything on the furoshiki and tied the 4 corners together. Mother took out another furoshiki for Okie's futon. It did not take very long to pack her meager belongings. Matsu, the samurai, arrived early in the afternoon to take Okie to the Schnell house. Okie had been ready for hours. She was wearing her indigo blue yukata, soft from many washings, yet not showing age. Her hair was neatly pulled back at her neck and secured with a colorful silk bow. Matsu greeted Okie's parents, then picked up the heavier bundle and slung it across his back. Mother helped her daughter put the lighter bundle on her back. Okie bowed low to Father and Mother, her heart burning with sadness. She looked at Father pleadingly, wanting him to let her stay, but he said nothing. Tears streamed down Mother's cheeks. Finally, Okie turned and followed Matsu as he led her away from home. They walked a long distance toward the other side of town, and sometimes the unwanted tears came, and she could not stop them. Her mind was numb. She put one foot in front of the other and moved forward, following Matsu. More than an hour passed before they stopped to rest. Matsu sighed as he placed his bundle on the ground and turned to Okie. He spoke to her with compassion in his voice. Okie, I know you are not afraid of the war, but your father expects battles to come here, to Wakamatsu, and if that happens, his worst fear is that you might be killed. He is giving you a chance for a new life, a happy life, in America. Matsu-san, I do not want to go. And she brushed her sleeve across her face, wiped the tears away, took a deep breath, and asked hesitantly, Are there other Japanese people in America? Only a few, Okie, and not where we are going. We are going to a small town in California. It is called Gold Hill. He smiled. Schnell-san says there are beautiful hills there, not so different from what you see in Wakamatsu. The land is good for farming, and people are friendly. They are hard-working people, just like us, and some of the neighbors are from Schnell-san's home country. When this war is over, he thinks more people from Japan will go to America. He looked toward the castle, then he spoke again. If Lord Matsudera survives, there will be a safe haven already established in America for him to go to, the Wakamatsu Tea and Silk Farm Colony. Matsu picked up the bundle. Come, Okie, let us continue our journey. They had only gone a short distance when Matsu stopped again and explained further. Okie, I promised your father that I would protect you. I am your brother's friend, and I am a samurai. I will always honor that promise. They walked for another hour. Finally reaching Herr Schnell's house, Matsu opened the gate. They followed a stone path to the front of the house and climbed the pew where Mrs. Schnell greeted them at the door. Konnichiwa, good afternoon. Please come in, Okie. We are happy that you will be joining us. Okie, feeling shy, forced herself to look at Mrs. Schnell and was relieved to see kindness in her eyes. She bowed low and, showing no signs of sadness, responded clearly, Konnichiwa, Schnell Oku-san. Okie slipped out of her gita and stepped up into the house. She took her bundles and followed Mrs. Schnell in the room where she would share with Francis and the old nanny. It was a pleasant room, bright with sunlight coming through an open shoji sliding door, empty except for a futon, folded neatly on shelves. She put her bundles on the tatami, straw mat, covered floor, and again followed Mrs. Schnell. They stopped in the entryway to put on their gira and went along the path to a garden at the back of the house. Oke had not noticed the garden when she first arrived. Lush green moss spread out from the house, leading to a pond and the tea room. Water flowed down a creek and into the pond, bubbling over a cluster of rocks and continuing on its journey toward the sea, far, far away. Koi, fish, swam lazily in the water. The edge of the pond, near the tea room, a stone frog with baby frogs on its back kept watch over all. Flowers grew everywhere, bursting with bright autumn colors, bringing joy into the garden. How pretty, thought Oke, as she listened to birds singing. The loneliness of leaving home was softened by their cheerful music. Suddenly, Mrs. Schnell laughed and kneeled down. She reached forward and caught the little girl who was running toward her, then motioned for Oke to kneel beside her on the moss. "This is Frances Chan, my daughter," said Mrs. Schnell as she tickled the toddler and made her giggle. "And this will be your new nanny, Frances Chan. Will you say hello to Oke, please?" Oke smiled at the little girl, who was now standing in front of her, struggling to say the words of greeting, so small yet already showing her mother's beauty. "Konnichiwa, Oke," she said softly, then bounced back into her mother's arms. "Konnichiwa, Frances Chan," said Oke, feeling not so sad now. She looked up and saw an old woman in a dark blue yukata walking slowly toward them, leaning lightly on a cane. This must be the nanny, thought Oke, as she stood and bowed graciously. She must be very old. My own grandmother did not have as many wrinkles as this nanny. Mrs. Schnell introduced the two women to each other, then excused herself and led Frances away. Oke waited patiently, expecting to learn her duties. "You are very young," said the old nanny, though not unkindly, as she peered at Oke with a questioning look in her eyes. "You look strong enough. Do you like children?" "Yes, I do," responded Oke, answering honestly. "What can you teach a child, then?" the nanny asked as she walked unsteadily back and forth, keeping her eyes focused on Oke. "I think this nanny is very wise," thought Oke. Wanting to be respectful, she replied politely, "I do not know. I have never been a nanny before, but I am a good seamstress." The old nanny stopped pacing and nodded, as though pleased with the answer. "So half the job is already done, and now I shall teach you the other half."